Sandopolis Zone, the bane of every Sonic & Knuckles fan's existence. You blasted through the lush greens of Mushroom Hill Zone, the mechanical playground that is Flying Battery Zone, only to be dropped from a height that, let's be honest, should kill Sonic, into the coarse, dry and blisteringly hot ground of Sandopolis Zone. Now, I've heard every major Sonic YouTuber talk down about this level, and with good reason. You'll die if you sink to the bottom of these sand pits, except when you don't. These pulleys that let you abseil down the side of a building on your first playthrough, pretty cool, but ends up becoming more annoying and kills your flow in subsequent playthroughs. Plus, these fucking Scorp badniks are so damn cheap. Then there's Act 2 with the Roars Ghosts. Sega, why did you name these things that? That's like me saying, hey look, I've designed this enemy for a game. It's called a Parallaxum. Like, okay, but that's just a tree. No, that's not a tree. It's a Parallaxum. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. This level is tough. The rising sands that you have to outrun to avoid being crushed, having to stop and push switches to progress, you get my point. There's a fair amount of this zone's content that seems to really rub people the wrong way. However, while I agree with all of these points and understand why even the most hardcore Sonic fan pulls this face every time you mention Sandopolis Zone, son of a bitch, I think it's unironically my favourite level in Sonic 3 and K. Let me tell you why. Something I love about the classic Sonic games is that you can sum up the theme of each zone with a few words, right? Like Green Natural Woodland Zone, or Casino/City Zone, Lava Zone, Water Zone, Snow Zone, Cave Zone, very easily identifiable themes. By the time we reached Sonic 3, I thought they'd all been pretty much done, so much so that zone themes almost felt like they'd been repeated through a few of the games. So back in 1995, oh my god, I'm so old, when I too fell from Flying Battery and landed in this heat-scorched environment for the first time, 9-year-old me thought,
this is genius! An ancient Egyptian theme level, of course, why hasn't this been done already?
Maybe Mario did it first? I don't know, I've never really been a Mario guy, so maybe you can help me with that blind spot in the comments section, let me know if I'm wrong. But as I wondered about the starting area, the first thing I thought was, holy shit, that background and sky colour is fucking beautiful. Sorry, I swear when I get passionate. And annoyed. This time it's passion though. But look at this sky. The deep purples brightening and blending into pale magentas and yellows. Mwah, chef's kiss. For context, let's look at some other Sonic levels up to this point. A lot of them have beautiful scrolling backgrounds, and sure, some of them are brightly coloured, sometimes too bright, but I don't know man, these colours are separated. Red buildings in the distant background and green buildings in the immediate background, or blue sky and purple mountains. A lot of other levels just use one main colour with another for highlights and smaller details. Oil Ocean is just all of the orange with some brown buildings. Labyrinth was actually just brown with different shades used to force a perception of depth, like for the tiles. I actually much prefer the background in the beta version of Labyrinth Zone. But back to Sandopolis, just the sky alone is filled with these bright blending colours that look in equal parts beautiful and sweltering. Then of course we have the pyramids, which I find to also be significant because it's the first time we've seen something resembling a real life human built Earth landmark in a Sonic game, or at least the first that I can remember. For me, it grounded the level a bit more in reality. It feels like this zone has a rich lore and mystery to it, much like ancient Egypt. I could go on and on about the visuals in this zone, but there's just one more tiny detail I wanted to point out, and that's the subtle heatwave effects. Just looking at this makes me thirsty, title of your sex tape. All these things marry together to create a very memorable and immersive experience. I love the way this level looks. Granted, Act 2 is a bit of a downgrade in this respect, but for visuals, Act 1 is top class. Even the foreground platforms are made of old weathered bricks doused in hieroglyphic style details. Just all of the S. Ancient Egypt fascinated me as a kid. The pyramids, the sphinx, sarcophaguses, mummies, I found it all awe-inspiring. And to me, this was the perfect blending of two deep fascinations. The other big thing that I love about this zone is the music. Shocker, right? Sonic game has good music. But seriously, has any music from any zone fit its theme better than this one? Take the Lava Reef Zone music. It's amazingly catchy, upbeat, and it's flawless. One of my favourite tracks in the entire franchise. But honestly, other than this is the music you always hear when you play the zone, there's not much to audibly indicate, hey, this place is full of hot lava, or Chemical Plant, which yes is an iconic level and the music is a big reason for that, but listening to the song in isolation, you wouldn't think this reminds me of a plant that chemicals are made in. There are of course some exceptions. Carnival Night Zone has a very appropriate and obvious carnival-esque soundtrack. I would say Sonic 2 does this best overall. Mystic Cave sounds a bit spooky, Aquatic Ruins kinda sounds watery, I guess. Winged Fortress certainly has a grandiose soundtrack befitting of a penultimate zone. The lack of pleasing melody in the opening bars of Death Egg's music perfectly give off a mechanical, cold and artificial vibe, like there's no life or fun to be had here. For Sandopolis, the music is tonally obvious to the level it's heard in. Just the first few notes give you that exotic Middle Eastern flavour. Guaranteed, if you show this to someone who had never played a Sonic game and ask them what does this music make you think of, they'll probably say, well, first, who are you, what is this and how did you get into my house? But after that, they'll probably think of Egypt and the pyramids and the deserts that they reside in. Again, something else that really grounds this level in reality more than any other up until this point. You could get away with playing Angel Island's theme on Aquatic Ruin Zone or Marble Zone's theme over Oil Ocean Zone. But Sandopolis over any other zone just feels, I don't know, completely incompatible. In fact, I love this zone's music so much that I learned how to play it on multiple instruments and recorded my own heavy metal cover. I'll play a clip of it on the outro if you're interested to hear it. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, Twisted, this all just means that you like the presentation of the level. That's very different to how the level feels to play through. To which I retort, yeah, you're right. From a purely gameplay perspective, I agree. It's not the strongest in the series, but it's certainly not the worst, looking at you, wacky workbench. No, themes and aesthetics alone do not make for a good level or good gaming experience. If you reskin Labyrinth Zone 4, Scrap Brain Zone 3, with assets from, I don't know, say, Casino Night Zone, it wouldn't make the level too much more fun to play. But theming and visual design is super important to an overall experience of a zone, and when it comes to that aspect, Sandopolis knocks it out of the park. As far as gameplay goes, this level falls more on the platforming side rather than the speed. That's not to say there's no speed, the level has its moments. Nonetheless, it's a bit slower, and guess what? That's okay. Not every level has to be balls to the wall. Sonic is a platformer after all, and it is the latest stage in the game, so it's not meant to be a forgiving jungle gym like Green Hill or Angel Island. But after running through this level on probably by now thousands of playthroughs of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I've gotten used to the level layout and it's really not as bad as people make out. Certainly not a blemish on an otherwise near perfect game. And no, this is not the gets good argument. I struggled with this level on my first few playthroughs, but that's kind of the point. These zones were made to be played over and over again. Speed is the incentive and reward for learning the zone layout and playing well. This is kind of getting into some other territory of gameplay philosophy that seems to be a sticking point all in itself, but I'm not going into that in this video. All I'm trying to say is if you don't like the level enough to play through it multiple times and become familiar with its layouts and have an easier experience on subsequent playthroughs, that's fair enough, I get it. Games, like anything in life, is subjective, and I'm not the kind of person to try and change somebody's mind on something. That's not what this video is supposed to do. If you hate this level, I completely understand why. I'm not telling you why you should like Sandopolis Zone. I'm just telling you why I personally love Sandopolis Zone and look forward to traversing my way through it every time I boot up the game. There's so much I haven't had a chance to talk about, like the Guardian boss being the first non-Eggman / Robotnik boss in the series, or how the zone was home to the biggest clue that Knuckles' playthrough took place after Sonic's main story, with the ghosts already being released in Knuckles' campaign. I don't know, I just feel like Sandopolis Zone has more significance than people give it credit for. So in closing, I guess this entire script could have been summed up with zone look good, zone sound good. But honestly, I just wanted to gush about a zone that I personally love, but for the most part seems to make people do the first half of that Drake meme. I know it's not a blistering roller coaster of a level, and there are aspects that are pretty questionable, but to me, Sandopolis Zone, Act 1 at least, will always be underrated and overhated, and I look forward to reading all your comments below telling me how I'm out of my damn mind. Also, on the off chance that anybody watches this who also likes Sandopolis Zone, let me know in the comments and we can, I don't know, start a club or something. Until the next video, just wanted to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.